What's going on, everyone? Hope you're doing all right. A little bit different setup than last time. I'm back home in LA, and I didn't do my last video exactly as I wanted it to, the iPhone X video. Not that it was a bad video, but I didn't structure it how I wanted to structure it. So I'm gonna try and do this one a little bit better. And so today we're talking really quickly about the DJI Phantom 3 in 2018. It has its pros and cons. But there is, of course, the Phantom 4, the Phantom 4 Obsidian, the Phantom 4 Pro, the Mavic Air, and if you go into the commercial line, you're gonna be going into the Inspire and the Inspire 2. Obviously, there are other drones outside of DJI. I just have stuck with DJI ever since I've gotten this one. So I know that if you're just getting into photo/video, this is something that you definitely are excited for or you want to get. I remember it when I was getting into video, and all I had was a power shot, and I remember watching Casey Neistat videos, and I was like, damn, I gotta get a drone. Drones are a different kind of tool. I know that when I first got the drone, I was taking it everywhere with me. I was trying to use it absolutely the most that I could, even when I probably didn't even need to use the drone. I just brought it around with me because I thought it was cool. And don't get me wrong, it is a very, very cool, tool to use and have. But that doesn't mean that you are supposed to use it for every single shot. So I'm sure if you're watching this as like my other videos, you know most of the pros and cons. So I'm gonna try and go through most of the pros first, and then the cons, things that I don't like or are drawbacks from the Phantom. So I've had this drone for about 1.5 years now. I got it at the Black Friday sale at Best Buy for about 500 bucks, so it was a pretty good price. But you can get this exact drone, the Phantom 3 Standard, on eBay used if you're willing to go that route for around 300 bucks. I've seen the lowest at like 199 if it doesn't include props or something like that. But I would try and keep, around new drones or refurbished from DJI, just because you don't know what the other person was doing with their drone and how great of care they were giving to it. Something that is excellent about this drone is just how easy it is to fly. You should try the beginner mode. There is a beginner mode that kind of gets you around learning how to fly it, because it is easy to fly, but it's not as crash proof as the Phantom 4, the Inspire. Those bells are loud. Let me see if I can fix that. Be right back. There we go. No more bells or wind chimes. Okay, where was I? Oh, how easy it is to fly. So yeah, it is really, really easy to fly. You just connect to the Wi-Fi, toss it on the remote. I recommend starting in the beginner mode so you can kind of get a feel for it, because it isn't as crash proof as some of these newer drones like the Mavic, the Phantom 4, the Inspire 2. There's no sensors on here like those guys have as to, let you know any obstacle avoidance or crash proof sensors, if you will. If you run into something, you're going to run into something. Some of you may be wondering how this flies in different conditions. I've flown this in light rain, I have flown this in light snow, and in some mildly strong winds, and it holds its ground. And in those conditions, it flies really well so long as you're in GPS mode. So as long as you're getting connection and it's in its locked hovering mode, then you're good. If it loses connection and it goes into ATTI mode, it's gonna drift, and you need to watch it because it can drift pretty far sometimes without you noticing. Something that I really like about this drone, and all DJI drones have up from the Phantom 3, I don't know about before the Phantom 3, it does have the return to home feature. So what that is if it goes too far away from you and it loses connection from the remote, it will come back to you and then land. A newer feature with some of the newer drones, I know the Phantom 4 has it, where it will take the exact path backwards. This doesn't do that, but it does come back to the general vicinity of where you're at, and by the time that you can start to see it, you can actually reconnect to the drone, tell it to stop the return to home feature, and then pilot it back to yourself. The flight time is pretty good with this thing too. It's nothing to write home about, but you'll get a solid 25 minutes to 30 minutes if you're not flying it too aggressively. But if you're hauling ass after something, you're gonna get more like 20 minutes, which was what we were doing when we were down at the sand dunes with my buddies, and we were chasing the Kia, the car that we were in, and it lasted about 20 minutes, but that was because I was really pushing the drone. Something that a lot of people don't think about is this takes photo too. It's not just a video drone. You can take really nice photos with it, and it also takes raw photos. So if you wanted to do a drone hyperlapse and you have it set on a path to just follow one way, you can do a hyperlapse and shoot in RAW and then edit those photos. So those are pretty much my pros. There's plenty of others out there. I'm sure that you've seen other videos if you're watching this video. It's really an awesome drone. If you haven't had a drone before and you're thinking about testing one out, this is a really solid drone to pick up to see whether drones are for you or not. Again though, just because it's an awesome drone doesn't mean it's perfect, so let's get into the cons. So the first thing that I really don't like is just the build quality of the actual remote. It's not that bad. It could be better though. This antenna was really flimsy. I have it taped right here because if the wires were to get cut, you would be SOL. Yeah, I've seen the remotes that come with the Phantom 4, the Mavic, and they're pretty solid remotes. Just know that this remote is not as nice as those remotes. So number 2 is the app that you use. So the DJI Go app is, it could be better. I think that they could really improve on the software end of the app. It doesn't always connect sometimes when I'm trying to set up. It's always at the worst time too, when you're ready to set up for an event and it just doesn't want to connect. When you're flying the drone, there are some times where you'll get kind of like a low feedback rate. I mean, I don't really know how to explain it. You'll have the drone out there and you're looking at your phone while you're flying it, and sometimes it'll start to get choppy, even if you're in pretty solid connection. It's not that bad. It's just something to keep in mind. It could be bad if you're trying to do some really complicated maneuvers and you're around, trees or buildings or whatever, and all of a sudden you lose a frame or two and you're just all of a sudden closer to a building. It's kind of sketchy, but it's not the worst thing. I did earlier say that I've flown this in light rain and snow. This is definitely not water resistant, so mess around with harsh environments at your own risk. It's been okay. I definitely can't recommend that you put this out in the rain. Part of it which is just because how many things are exposed. I mean, you've got vents over here, you've got exposed coils over here, and I mean, you could get stuff that goes into the battery. Oh, which is another thing. Do not buy third-party batteries unless they are like really well trusted, because I had one battery that I had gotten from, oh gosh, I don't remember what it was. It was a third-party battery, okay? And it imploded. So what I mean by that is, this is the normal battery that came with my drone. It started expanding and it started smoking while I was out at the snow. So don't mess with third-party batteries, or if you do, mess with them at your own risk. I am not getting another third-party battery. So of course recently I flew back home, and this is one thing that I wish I knew. So yeah, just the size of it. It's not a huge drone, but the bag that it goes in is just... Now, there are other bags, of course, but this one's really nicely padded. I think it was like 20 or 30 bucks on Amazon. It's a really common bag for drones, for the Phantom 3 at least. And it's okay. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but it's huge, and I don't need to get another one because this one works perfectly fine. So bringing this anywhere means that I have to bring this bag. And if this was a Mavic Pro, then I would toss it in with my normal camera bag, and that would be it. I would have my Lumix packed in there, I would have a 6D, I would have the Mavic, and some batteries, some extra things, and that's it. And in reality, that's probably the biggest gripe that I have with the Phantom 3. It's, again, not that big of a deal if you're okay, working around that and bringing it around with you, but it's just like, there are those newer drones out there that are so much smaller, and the quality is just as good, if not better. Those are my pros and cons when it comes to the Phantom 3, and a few things that bug me. Again, there really isn't much that bothers me about this other than the form factor when I want to have, less things with me. But I want to have aerial shots, that means I have to bring the big bag. So the question now is, who is this drone for today in 2018? And I've got two answers for you. So the first answer really is just if you want to have a beater drone and you really want to, start doing more aggressive movements or more complicated movements flying through things, but you don't want to have something that you know, you're gonna feel bad if you crash it. And if you don't have a drone, you're saying I'm crazy, why would you want to do that with the drone? But there are just some times where that shot that you know is gonna look really, really clean, but it's a little bit more tricky and you need to have a little bit more expertise when it comes to flying a drone. And you don't want to do it because you don't want to hurt your drone. There comes a point where you just say to yourself, I just want to get the shot. And if you have flown with drones before, this might be that kind of drone that you want because it is so cheap right now. If you wanted to get a used one or a refurbished one, you can try and pull off those shots that are a little bit more sketchy. Of course, that doesn't mean go out and crash your drone into walls or fly them super close to buildings. Obviously be safe, follow FAA rules and all that. But if you wanted to get those more complicated shots and you don't want to risk one of your newer drones, this might be a solid pickup. Find a refurbished one, or if you do go used, make sure that they took care of the drone. And the second answer is just to anyone who has never had a drone before. If you've never had a drone before, I highly, highly recommend this drone because of how easy it is to fly. Really, any drone from DJI is really, really easy to fly. And I think this is a great starter drone because it gives you a good feel as to what drone you know would really be best for you. Of course, you can do, you know, all of your research and figure out right now what drone is best for you. But if you're on a budget and you don't want to, you know, fork over too much money for a drone, this drone is a fantastic choice, especially today in 2018, because you can pick one up for under $500 and it still has excellent picture quality. Some of you might be saying the Mavic Air is around 500 bucks. I personally would take this over the Mavic Air, and I would still take the Mavic Pro because the Mavic Air flies solely on Wi-Fi. This one does use Wi-Fi, but it does also have RC. And the Mavic Pro doesn't use solely Wi-Fi, so that's something that I don't like about the Mavic Air, is the fact that you can't fly it as far because it's limited to only Wi-Fi. Which brings us back to the price point. I said it earlier, I'll say it again, you can get one of these for under $500, and if you're willing to go used, you can get one for around $300. If it's under that, something might be wrong with it. So just be careful, do your research, and figure out, you know, whether it's flying perfectly. A good solution to this is, you know, instead of buying it on eBay, maybe check OfferUp or LetGo and see if anyone locally is selling it so you can actually see them fly it, test it out, make sure that it's working, and then you know that there's nothing wrong with it. So yes, in 2018, this is a solid drone to pick. Of course, there are better ones out there, but if you're on a budget and you want to have a drone, you want to bring up that production value and get some awesome aerial shots, this is definitely no slouch. It'll get the job done. It's really easy to fly, and overall, it's a solid choice if you don't have a drone. Again, that's all from me today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, consider subscribing. Leave a like if you did like it. If you didn't like it, the other button will work as well. If you have a Phantom 3 and I have something that I missed, feel free to leave something in the comments. If you have a different drone, say what you like about it or, you know, don't like about that drone. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!